Well, good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana weather. It is about 7:40 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:40 Central Time, Evansville time, and it is April Fool's Day, April the 1st, 2014. But I don't have an April Fool's of a forecast for you. I've got some great temperatures to talk about. It'll come at a price. Unfortunately, we got a little bit of rain to go with it, but we'll get through it. We'll talk about it here in just a second. Today's video update, of course, being sponsored by Metal Magic in Washington. You can give Chad a call at 698-8555 for all of your paintless dent repair needs. Folks, they are one of the only shops in the area that is certified by PDR Nation. You can go to pdrnation.org and you can search for Metal Magic. Chad Flint, their owner there, you can see his license number, and they are certified. PDR Nation, if you're not familiar with what it is a way that you can know that you are getting quality service. Sometimes whenever paintless dent repair is done, it doesn't restore it completely to the pre-damaged condition. But with PDR Nation certification, you can know that your technicians are going above and beyond the call of duty to make it the absolute best that it can possibly be into the original state that it was before the dent happened. So keep that in mind. You can go to pdrnation.org. You can search underneath of the tech finder, and you can just click on that, and then that will take you into an option. You can just search by state, or you can just use a search box and you can just search Metal Magic, if I can talk about my words here. And there you go, Metal Magic will come up. You can click on it and the whole 9 yards, and you'll be able to see Chad's certification there and the whole 9 yards. Folks, they're great at what they do, so keep that in mind, because this week it does look like we are going to have the chance for some severe weather and potentially a little bit of hail to go with it. We'll talk about that here in just a second. Let's return to the current setup here. You can see some rain is finally starting to move in. We've actually got some severe weather starting to fire up down here around the Oklahoma City area, the upper portions of Texas. That's going to stay down there tonight. Nothing to worry about as far as severe weather for us tonight, but later on this week we will certainly see that as a cold front that's sort of stalled out over the area, just just hangs around all week long, and we're going to have multiple waves just sort of ride along on that bad boy as it goes throughout. You can see this is round one of the wave. Now, just more of some isolated to stuff around the area tonight, not a gully washer by any means. Overnight tonight, we'll see a little bit more of that come in. We'll take a look here at future radar, and you can see exactly what I mean by that as I put this into motion, our high-resolution NAM radar. And you can see we get a decent amount of rain through our overnight hours. It's wanting to load kind of slow here. But then as we go throughout the day on Wednesday, you see, looks like we stay somewhat dry. Maybe we get a little bit of a break in the action of the morning, but then by the afternoon hours, boy, you can see some rain really starting to move in. Now, there is a chance on Wednesday evening that some of this could be strong and potentially marginally severe. It's something that we will be monitoring for sure. SPC's day 2 outlook, as far as that goes, has taken the slight risk just to our west. They have put us in the 5% hatch, which would be that sort of marginal category. A strong thunderstorm or two can't be ruled out. I don't think we're going to see watches or anything tomorrow night, but we'll be monitoring it to make sure that there's no severe weather. And if there is, of course, the updates we'll post to our Facebook page. We'll be here monitoring that. It looks like the bulk of the action will stay out west that day. Now, as we go into day 3, it's going to be a little bit different. The slight risk extends a little bit further towards us. In fact, if we take a look, here's the categorical look, but if we just take a look at the percentiles, 15% risk for most of us, but that 30% risk extends all the way down here, cuts off right about the Evansville area, and just sort of centers this bullseye in on Arkansas. I mistakenly called it Arizona on my video last night. I don't know where that came from. Arizona, of course, I know is way down here, but Arkansas. Hey, it started with an A. I mean, I got that part right. I do know my geography. One of you all pointed that out to me, and thanks for that. I watched that and shook my head, but that's the way it goes. Arkansas is where I should say looks like the bullseye for this, and then down into Missouri, even into western Kentucky and southern Illinois, just sort of barely clipping into the southwest corner of Indiana. We'll see whether that shifts. Looks like Thursday evening into late Thursday night is going to be kind of our time frame as far as severe weather is concerned. You notice the hatch marks. The hatch marks are what they denote as a significant weather event, and that's just a greater chance of severe weather happening sort of concentrated in that spot. So we're still a couple of days away from this. We're talking Thursday and it's now Tuesday. So a lot can change, and we'll keep you updated with this. We'll go through the risks in this video a little bit more tonight, but everything is on the table now, from large hail damaging straight line winds and even some tornadoes, as we'll look at here in a minute. But just be aware that that risk is there. Let's go back to our future radar now that I've mentioned that, and let's continue to put the radar in motion. We'll go through Wednesday evening. Again, some of these could be strong to marginally severe. We'll keep an eye on it, but the big event will happen more on Thursday. On Thursday morning, we may have some early waves that move in. Some of these could potentially go severe early, but here we are by 14 EDT, which would be 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The radar goes by military time here. I apologize for that. It's a little hard to read if you're not familiar with military time. But watch how this literally explodes as we go throughout. Here we are by 5 o'clock, and then by 8 o'clock that night. We go from here's where we are at 5 o'clock. The next radar view in is 8 o'clock, and we've just literally exploded with growth out to our west. And as you continue on, you can see how it just sort of starts to congeal into a line, and here's where the high resolution radar ends. And here we are at about 2 a.m. So this the NAM would certainly take this more of an overnight threat for us. Now, I will say this, I don't have the RPM pulled up to be able to show you, but the RPM model does actually speed this up significantly more than what the high resolution NAM does. So there's some discrepancy on timing, and we'll just have to sort that out in the coming days. It looks like right now anytime from Thursday evening even into the overnight hours into Friday morning is sort of the timeline. Again, we'll just have to sort that out over the next couple of days and see how that goes. Let's take a look at the pattern. We'll take a look at the GFS model here and just show you that we're setting up into a rainy pattern. We've got that front that's stalled out into our area. As this low that's centered down here around the Oklahoma, Texas area, even here into Colorado, watch as this sort of deepens and starts to move our way. That front that's stalled out into our area becomes a warm front and then starts to push back north. So that'll be a boundary layer which will sort of allow multiple waves of energy to focus their effort on us over the course of time, and then just watch how this goes over the course of time. Finally, here we are into the late hours on Thursday evening. It's this 3Z on Friday, which would actually translate into, let's see, about 10 p.m. or so, something like that. Yeah, 10 p.m. I believe on Thursday night, and you can see the front is still well out to our west, but you've got this the threat extending into it. And then finally it moves it through again during the overnight hours according to the GFS. So again, the GFS thinks the overnight hours, the RPM thinks the late evening hours, the high resolution NAM, sometimes we call it the WRF, sorry, also says more of the overnight hours. So again, you've got 3 different models saying 3 different things. We'll fine tune this hopefully a little bit more as time goes on, but regardless of when it comes, it looks like it's going to be a severe weather threat. The later it does delay even into the overnight hours, the less instability we will have. So of course that's a good thing to keep the severe threat down, but it looks like we're going to have instability with this no matter what, because this is just a very powerful system. Let me show you some of the parameters before we go to the forecast here. I don't want to bog you down with boring details, but for those of you that are interested, just to sort of show you what kind of a system we're dealing with. First thing I'll show you here is the 850 millibar winds, and what this is the low-level jet. Again, as I said yesterday, if you just take a look up at the sky and you see the clouds are just sort of whipping by you real fast in the low levels of the atmosphere, and you see low-hanging clouds and they're just whipping by fast, that's what the low-level jet is. And whenever you've got a very fast low-level jet, severe thunderstorms can reach extremely high up into the atmosphere, and they can take those strong winds, push them down, and it makes it more conducive to ending up with some severe weather threat. Well, take a look. Here we are. We're going to be here about 10 p.m. in the evening according to the NAM model. And again, it's more of an overnight, but watch as we move into the overnight hours and you see that low-level jet. Here we are in Indiana right here, and you can see that low-level jet really ramps up right around where the cold front is located and then moves our way. So there will certainly be plenty of wind energy as far as the low-level jet goes. If we take a look at the mid-level jet stream, the 500 millibar level, again, plenty of wind energy. Here's Indiana right here. You're talking 50, 60 knots of wind energy associated with this as it moves in. Again, that's not just outstanding, the best energy that we've had, but that's certainly plenty enough to be conducive to severe weather. We talk about instability. We're also thinking about warmth and moisture. If we talk about temperatures during the day, even by the time we get into these overnight hours, we're still into the upper 60s, pushing near 70 degrees still by that time in portions of our area. And then if we can just take a look at our dew points as well, you'll see the dew points also with an extremely high surge there as well. So we've got 60 plus degree dew points surging up into us. So absolutely, this is very much so conducive to severe weather. Instability is nothing more than warmth and moisture. We can actually measure that by a value we call CAPE, stands for convective available potential energy. And you can see even during the late hours of the overnight hours, we still have a good amount of CAPE centered right over us. So the first green shade starts at 750. So we're talking 750 to 1,000 units of CAPE around the area, 500 at the bare minimum on this chart. And this is even in the middle hours of overnight, whenever we shouldn't have much of any instability left at all. And that's just because we've got instability. Is just a measure of warmth and moisture in the atmosphere. It creates a very buoyant atmosphere. It's very unstable. We can take a look at our lifted index as well, if you know what that means. That whenever you have a strong negative value, it just indicates a very buoyant atmosphere, which air parcels can rise. Air parcels rise. You need that rising motion in the atmosphere to create thunderstorms. And you can see we're still at a -2, -3, and that's certainly conducive to severe weather as well. Folks, I'm not trying to bore you with details. I know this is all sort of nerdy nerd stuff, and I'm definitely into that. This is what I got my degree from Indiana University in. This is what I love to do. I could look at these weather charts all day. I know not everyone is like that, but the point I want to get across here to you is, folks, everything is sort of lining up, all of our ducks in a row to end up with what looks like could be a pretty significant severe weather event somewhere in the area. I think it's going to be a pretty bad day here around Arkansas, Missouri, maybe even southern Illinois. I'm not sure it's going to be quite as severe by the time it reaches us, but we still have that threat. And again, it's all going to depend on when that line rolls through. We could also take a look at bulk shear, and bulk shear is just a measure of how much of a change in wind speed we have as we move up the height. So we're looking at surface to 500 millibar. So we're looking at wind at the surface, and we are looking at winds about 18,000 feet up in the atmosphere. And what's the delta? What's the difference? What's the change in between that? And so we're looking here at least 30 to 40 knots of bulk shear move over us. As the overnight hours ramps on and that moves over closer towards us, we've got even 60 and 70 knots of bulk shear approaching this way, a good 40 or 50. This is actually Missouri out here. I need to find, it's a little hard to see Indiana on this. I have to get a little closer. Here we are. But again, 40 or 50 knots of bulk shear, that's certainly conducive to severe weather. So again, that could indicate a tornado threat, especially if we look at our crossover. We look at the surface to 500 millibar crossover. Again, we're looking at change in the directions. And what you see is at the surface, we've got pretty much a south wind, and we've got a west-southwest wind as we go up well into the upper layers of the atmosphere. So again, to get thunderstorms rotating, what you need is a change. You need a change in wind direction and a change in wind speed as you go up in the atmosphere. And what you find is both. And we can measure that with a product that we call the Energy Helicity Index. And if we take a look at the 0 to 1 kilometer EHI, you can see that we do have a little bit in here. Typically, you want the green shades, which is above 1, in order to be conducive for thunderstorm development. We're bordering that. We're still at 0.75 by the time the night goes on. But if we just back this up a little bit during the evening hours, you can see that we do have some of those shades of green around. So certainly more of a tornado threat down here over Arkansas and Missouri, but the tornado threat is not completely non-existent over us. It is still there. I suspect, and my gut feeling is, it'll probably congeal more into a squall line by the time it gets to us, but that is something that we will just have to monitor. So sort of to recap everything, essentially I think what we're going to be facing, all three modes of severe weather could be on the table. We could see large hail, we could see damaging straight line winds, and we could see tornadoes. None of that is a guarantee yet. We still got a couple of days to fine tune all of the details on this, but we'll certainly be here to monitor it and bring you the latest as far as that goes. But for now, what we can say is it looks like we've got what could be a significant severe weather event shaping up. And keep it here to southernindianaweather.com for the latest details, and we will keep you updated, folks. All right. Don't forget, we have a great interactive radar on our website. You can check that out. Go to southernindianaweather.com, click on interactive radar, and you can track this right down to street level, right over your home, and you can watch the rain as it moves in. We'll take a look at your 7-day forecast sponsored by Ubalor and Sons. Just real quick, you can see it's going to be warm. We're going up to, again, temperatures in the 70s both Wednesday and Thursday. Severe thunderstorms possible, especially on Thursday night. Would not rule out something isolated on Wednesday, even though we are not in the risk area. Certainly strong thunderstorms are possible. Those will all come to an end by Friday as we head into the low 60s for a high again. But it should be out of here probably by late afternoon hours, start to clear out. Mostly sunny, cooler into the 50s on Saturday, then partly cloudy on Sunday, and we're back into 60 really for the next 3 days. A little bit of showers likely on Monday. So it looks like an active weather pattern shaping up for us. All right, that is it for tonight's update, folks. We will have another one of these tomorrow. For Southern Indiana weather, I'm meteorologist Michael Wilhite.